You were expecting to see Maria Pisani here, who sends her regards, but she had to attend an urgent family urgency, and she asked me to step in. Very briefly, what the UNECE and UNCFLAG is. UNECE is a UN regional commission. Within the United Nations system, we have a global mandate to develop electronic standards or standards for international trade, both on the technical side and in particular on electronic business, but also policy standards. And we do this by collaborating with a large number of stakeholders and all other relevant entities in the UN system and in the standard system such as ISO, WTO, WCO, and so on and so forth. Our objectives are to have simple and efficient business processes and to have to bring the basis for an automation of these business processes. The outputs that we have is global recommendations on trade facilitation, which are very often more policy oriented, but we also have direct technical standards for data exchange, code lists in international trade, and so on. We do this since over 40 years, and the standards that are developed in UNECE are used globally. They form the invisible infrastructure of global trade. Essentially, all global trade transactions will use one or all of our standards in order to coordinate the different actors. What I want to show you here in this presentation, I want to give you a short overview of what we're doing in the area of blockchain and how we are approaching the topic of blockchain within our work. And I will do this by showing you some of the more important projects that are related to blockchain. One of the larger projects that we are conducting is a project on sustainable leather and textile traceability, improving the transparency of the garment and footwear industry is very important to manage this value chain more effectively, to identify and mitigate and address issues regarding to labor, human rights, and environment, and also to combat counterfeits and manage reputational risks. Today, we found out that many companies have a very limited view over the supply chain. In a study that we've made, we found out that only 30% of the fashion companies have some form of traceabilities, and most of them have only the first tier traceability. That is, they essentially know what is happening at the immediate supplier of them, but they don't know what has happened before. And this is very low visibility if you know that the garment and footwear industry is a highly fragmented supply chain. So implementation of traceability is very important, and the industry actors think that blockchain is one of the technologies that could help them. So blockchain, in order to test blockchain and the traceability project, a smaller, more focused project was set up, the blockchain, the cotton blockchain pilot. So cotton is a key factor for textile and garment industry. It's the world's most used natural fiber, and there's about 20 million metric tons that are produced every year. It's highly important. 350 million people on this planet earn a living in the production of cotton, but cotton also has enormous environmental and social impacts. 6% of all global pesticides are used to produce cotton, and a single t-shirt, the production of a single t-shirt costs 2,700 liters of water. So a traceability platform for something like the corporate supply chain is actually requires a number of layers, such as authentication of all stakeholders, standards and interfaces to exchange data between in-house systems and the traceability system. You have to manage access rights, security standards, and in general, you need a general system of trust, otherwise people will not provide you this data. So while all this could be done with classic technologies such as cloud-based computing, application programming interfaces, the implementation of such system in the past has never been successful. So with blockchain, we may have a game changer now that addresses in particular issues regarding to trust, to universal access, and to a simple platform development and accession. And so this is what we're currently testing in the blockchain cotton pilot project. This pilot will include integration tests for partner certification, end-to-end supply chain traceability, testing of the application in pilot countries. And pilot countries include producers of cotton, such as Egypt, but also the processing countries and final distribution countries like Italy and Switzerland. Another project we are currently running is the interledger exchange for preferential certificates of origin on blockchain. So a certificate of origin is very important in international trade because the importer gains access to preferential tariffs. The business process in a certificate of origin is the exporter will receive a certificate of origin from a government authority. He will hand it to the importer hands it to customs. Customs is checking this document and then giving preferential import. So the certificate of origin is, if you want, it's a vehicle on which you can build regional trade integration and implement regional preferential trade agreements. Of course, there are a lot of issues related with certificates of origin, issues of trust, and so countries have started to exchange certificates of origin using blockchains. But then, as there are multiple blockchains now starting, there's a question on how can you get a certificate of origin from one blockchain to the other, and this is what this project is trying to address. I'm being very brief here on the project of MLETRs. So this is a project to create a white paper on how to implement the UN CITRAL model law on electronic transferable records for transfer of these records on the blockchain. In general, this project is looking, or the use case of this project is the transfer of documents of title, such as the bill of lading. These documents are typically transferred in physical format, and there are numerous attempts to bring this transfer forward in electronic format. And blockchain might be a very promising technology because it can create the trust and the transparency that is needed for such an operation. And finally, the UN CFAC chain. So this project develops a framework for development and implementation of blockchain service infrastructure. And this framework will be compatible and in line with the European blockchain service infrastructure. And this infrastructure serves as an initial use case for this UN CFAC chain. So what I wanted to give you is, in all briefness, in a feeling for or an overview of the approach, the strategies that we have in UN ECE and in UN CFAC
on approaching blockchain. We have a set of standards for electronic information exchange. This is widely used in international trade. Using different technologies, we try to have our standards technology neutral. Now blockchain is coming. So what we are doing is we are engaging in pilot projects. In these pilot projects, we look on whether and how we can use the existing standards in a blockchain environment. We draw on lessons learned. Depending on these lessons learned, we might modify the existing stock of standards or develop new standards. And this is done in a type of a onion approach. So we are looking for specific use cases, draw the lessons learned, and then develop standards that are more general that can be used in other industries and for other use cases. On the last slide, and this is my last slide, you find some reading for those of you that are physically at the conference and that have a flight back. Thank you very much.